What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Blood on the Razor Wire TV, where we bring it to you real and we bring it to you raw. Got a guest on today, man. He was a white kid in a gang, a non-white gang. Been through a lot of stuff. Almost died in prison, but it's his story, so I'm going to let him tell it. Dylan, tell the people who you are, talk about where you're from, and tell us how you ended up in federal prison, brother.
All right, Chad. My name's Dylan Crabtree. I'm currently 30 years old. I was convicted of possession of stolen firearms at 18 years old. I was sentenced to 108 months, which is 9 years. I ended up maxing that all the way out. Lost all my good time throughout my prison bid from Goldsboro, North Carolina. But being in the feds, I've been all over the country.
What was the first prison you went to?
First prison, I was fortunate enough to go to Butner, North Carolina, which is about an hour away from my hometown. It was a medium facility, pretty laid back facility. I met a lot of, we'll say, superstars there. You know, it's a high profile camp.
Who were you around when you say high profile superstars?
One of them was actually my mentor. I was in a mentoring program. Actually, you spoke about Cedric Dean. He was the head of that program. My mentor's name was Carmine Testa, Joey Testa. He has a book out called The Murder Machine. He's alleged 70 plus murders from Brooklyn. He was in I think the Gambino crime family, I think.
You were over there with Testa?
Yes, sir.
Well, see, I didn't know that before the interview. What was he like, man?
Man, laid back, man. He was just Jeopardy, man. You couldn't touch the TV when Jeopardy was on. That was his thing. Like 70 years old, still doing 20 pull-ups a set, running the track miles. Laid back dude, man, but definitely not to be messed with even at his old age.
He was definitely a dangerous dude in the street. In prison, I mean, no one would expect this dude to be mentoring young dudes. I mean, obviously he turned his life around, right?
Yeah, I remember his opening statement in the program before he was appointed to be my mentor. He said, listen, guys, you know, he's got that accent too. He was like, listen, guys, you know, I'm not very good at things except for hurting a lot of people, you know, so, you know, give me a break on this. And, you know, so that was his opening statement. Everybody's jaw just dropped. Like, this guy's going to be somebody's mentor in here.
So, you know, eventually you don't stay in Butner. You end up going to a USP, right? Why you get kicked out of an FCI?
I stayed out, kept my nose clean for about 2 years there. I started doing GED tutoring. I was doing, you know, well, you know, depression sinks in and all that when you're looking at those type of numbers. Started dipping and dabbling in gang activity. They started embracing me. I'm a part of the Latin folks, Maniac Latin Disciples. I was put down with them there. Started dipping and dabbling in drugs. I eventually got caught bringing marijuana in through visitation, got caught with a nice quantity of marijuana, and also had a dirty urine. I did about 8 months in the SHU, the Special Housing Unit / the Hole, and was sent to a new FCI in West Virginia called McDowell.
When you get to McDowell, what's going on over there?
McDowell, it's up in the mountains, man. It's on a mountain peak. It's all right. It was brand new at the time, but they sent mainly people there, like to go into the USP when they opened it. It was pretty laid back, man. I just continue my gang activity there, building my name, fist fights, nothing too major, you know, toting around plexiglass knives. After that, I found out how to scheme the system and started getting in Suboxone strips through the mail, through books. Eventually got caught. Somebody told on me that, you know, they got scared and a book was coming in their name and they alerted the SIS that it was on the way. So I got caught up in that and went to the hole for about, I want to say 9-10 months. And was sent to USP Big Sandy after that.
What's it like, man, when they're telling you, look, man, you're about to go to a real prison now. You're going to be getting on the bus. You're heading to Big Sandy. Were you nervous?
You wanted me to tell you how nervous I was, man? Okay, so I had a celly back there. He was a blood from Maryland, and we became best friends back there, man. Like I said, I was back there about 8, 9 months. He was going to USP Pollock, and it was both our first pins. So we would catch ride-ups in the hole to push off us getting shipped to a pin. We would just flood the cell or jump on somebody in the wreck cage just because we were so terrified of all the stories we heard about going to the penitentiary, so we tried to divert our way of going to the penitentiary as long as we could, but eventually the captain was like, man, stop writing these guys up, man, just get them out of my prison. So, after about, like I said, 9, 10 months, me and him both hopped on the plane the same day. He went his way, I went mine. um, I was in a holdover, and I went to Oklahoma first, and then I went to Atlanta, and they have email, so it's real easy for guys to get in contact with guys from other yards, of course. So the gang members that I'm part of, when I left West Virginia, contacted Big Sandy, and they knew I was already on the way.
So you're on your way to Big Sandy. How old are you at the time?
When I was on the way to Big Sandy, I was probably 2014. I was 22 years old.
22 years old, walking into one of the most dangerous prisons in the country.
I'll say most dangerous.
So you get to Big Sandy, man. What's it like for you? What's your life like at Big Sandy?
I'm just going to reiterate some of the things I've heard you say previously, man. Like, you got to be up at 5:30 in the morning, boots on. First thing you grab is your knife under your pillow. Uh, walk to chow hall in groups of three at least. No naps. Like you said, praying for a fall count just so you could get that nap in. You got the deuces, which is the body alarms from the COs going off 2, 3 times a day for stabbings. Just very dangerous territory, man. Just very mentally draining, and risky.
So you got a knife on you. You're part of the Latin folks. What's it like being a white dude in that type of gang?
Pretty much, bro. You got to prove yourself, man. You know what I mean? I was fresh into this gang already. We're actually real diverse, but it's majority African Americans and Hispanics, Puerto Ricans, Mexican, have you not. I had to prove myself. I went on several missions for them, building my name up and my reputation throughout the system. When somebody had to go get ran off the yard, I was the one punching that number.
Do you feel like, man, because you were white, it was a little different for you that you had to keep proving yourself?
Yeah, for sure, bro. Definitely, most definitely in the beginning. Yeah, in the beginning it was like that until my name was, carried throughout the federal system. But you get a lot of backlash, not too much from convicts, because you got that no hands-on policy and all that. They can't stir stuff, but more like COs, especially in those hills and mountains and prisons like that. You're a race trader or a wigger or whatever terms.
Let me ask you this, right? What about the other white prisoners? There's a lot of white supremacist dudes in there, white gang members. How did they treat you? Were they like, psh?
Oh, definitely, yeah. Turn their nose up to me. Pretty much zero contact with them. Just not to the point of disrespect. More like they were disgusted with me.
Well, I mean, I've seen that, right? But let me ask you this. You said you had to put in work. So you're going on these missions, you're putting in work. Tell the people what you had to do.
Okay, my first mission, this is the first time I've ever stabbed anybody. There was a guy, we just called him Dragon, which is gang, a part of the Latin folks, like a different branch. They're called Insane Dragons. And he was about 50 years old. There was a lot of what you call SDs on the yard, Satan disciples. They're also Latin folks. Now, all the Latin folks together. Um, so this guy, the dragon, he had SDK tattooed on his ankle, which meant SD killer, like he killed SDs in the streets. So there was about four other SDs on the yard, and the guy that had the yard for us at the time was also an SD. So he was like, you got to cover that up, man. You can't be walking around the yard disrespecting us like that. This guy's 50 years old. He said he had this tattoo. You could tell it was a very old, faded pick and poke tattoo, small on his ankle. All right, so he had an issue with that. They gave him a week to cover it up. He didn't cover it up within that week. They gave him $100 fine to the commissary, purchased $100 worth of stuff, and put it in what's called our treasury box. Just pretty much gang funds, dues. And he didn't do that. He didn't do that. He was a store man, so they felt like that was disrespect. Like he had that type of money that he could provide that $100 fine, and he just brushed it off. So his argument was that he was a high-ranking board member, meaning he was the highest rank you could be in Latin folks. So those guys were like, we've never heard of you being a board member. We'll touch the streets of Chicago. That's where mainly all of them are from. As you may know, folks, Latin folks, it all originated in Chicago. So they contacted the streets about him, and many of them were like, yeah, but he has no rank. He's just what you would call a peon, a foot soldier. So there was a guy there that I got in a big sandy with. He was also Latin folks. His name was Matty. He was from New Hampshire. He was about my age, about an 18-year sentence. And they, pulled us in. We had a meeting in the unit. We were all in the same unit. This guy Dragon wasn't. And they were like, look, in 2 days, y'all are going to have to get rid of Dragon. The way we did it was we all met in the chat. I don't know how it was when you were there, but all sides of the prison can go to the chapel. That's the only place you can all convene, A, B, and C side. So all the folks, we're all together with the GDs as well. We all went to the chapel. I had a plexiglass knife on me, but I mean it's sharp as hell. So did Maddie. So the key was that when Charlie, which was our chief of security at the time, when he tapped him on his shoulder walking out the chapel, we were supposed to just get on his ass, So church was ending up, they were, treating Dragon like he was a brother still, tricking him. It's called rocking him to sleep or building him a cake, giving him a birthday cake, a surprise. So as we're walking out the door, me and Maddie are standing behind Dragon, and Dragon's next to Charlie. Charlie gives him that 2 taps on his back and says, that board member thing checked out, bro. You're good to go. Charlie Speeds walks off. I throw Dragon in the chokehold like this and start wrapping around, hitting him in the stomach as many times as I could. My knife eventually broke after about 7 times. Maddie was stabbing him also from the front. They shut the corridor off. Got gates where they can contain the corridor. So they started shutting the gates off. The deuces are going off. Almost all of our gang members were on the other side of the corridor. They instruct us to, get rid of the knives so they can get rid of them because, 9 times out of 10, if you don't get caught with the weapon with the assault, you don't get charged. So we're real big on getting rid of the weapon during an assault. So we slide my pieces out under the gate and Maddie's knife under the gate, and they take off. Charlie's still there. We stopped getting on this dude because he's already leaking. He's bleeding, bruised up. He's laying on the ground, and Charlie was just like, "That's not enough, you got to keep whooping him until you get maced." So we just started stomping them out until eventually the COs came up, maced both of us, restrained us, and took us to the chute. At the same time this was going on, there was other gang members of ours in his unit. They ran into his cell, busted his lock off his locker, and cleaned him out, stole everything he had. That was our reward for doing this mission. We got to split everything that he owned. People think, stabbing somebody, you'll be gone for a while or whatnot, but you only go to the hole for maybe 3 4 weeks, which is what about we went for. Well, I ended up losing my visits for a few years, my email for a few years, phone for a few years, and about 108 good days, I believe, for that incident.
Let me ask you this, right, Dylan? When you go on a mission like this, I mean, you don't have a boatload of time. You got some time, but you don't have a boatload. Your life ain't over with. You're a young man. You're going to get out. Does it ever go through your mind that you might throw your life away for this gang? That you might end up with a life sentence if this dude dies?
Definitely, that's the most fearful thing is getting more time when you're locked up, knowing that there's actually light at the end of the tunnel. And that's a big problem with that because you got these other guys in there with 30 40 years life sentences and plus. And it's, sometimes it's just like we're supposed to be brothers. We're supposed to help each other get through this and get out. And we're just pawns in a game of chess, man. That's all there is. We're sacrificial lambs to the system in there. They don't care. They don't care. When you do get to a year short, you go on what's called a grace period, where you don't have to take in those activities anymore. But definitely scary, bro. I've actually had a couple of things go to the FBI to be prosecuted, but was turned down.
That's what people don't understand in federal prison. When you stab someone, you get caught with a knife, they'll refer your case to the FBI. Sometimes they pick them up. Not often. Back then, they didn't pick them up often. But if they do pick it up, I mean,
Right.
they could be talking about career offender, 292 to 365 months. I mean, that's 24 to, what, 30 years? I mean, this is what you could have been
Yeah.
facing, even without killing somebody.
Yeah, for sure, bro. That's like I said. That's why they're big on trying to get rid of the weapon. Um, it's definitely scary, man. Big Sandy was an eye opener for me. Definitely the most dangerous and violent place I've ever come across in my life.
Was that the only incident you were involved in at Big Sandy, or was there other things that happened?
Oh, there was other missions we had to go on. One being this was having to do with me, a guy from Mississippi. I had went to visit and was going to see my girlfriend at the time, if that's what you would call her, but was going to see my girlfriend at the time at visit, and was that visit. I had 100% deaf cellie at the time, um, so he was in the cell sleeping. When I come back from visit, um, I'm noticing. I go to look at my photos of her. I'm gonna go look at my pictures of her and reminisce. Go open my photo album up, and all the like provocative pictures she sent me, underwear pictures and whatever, have been gone. They're missing, and I'm like, what the, and my cellie's deaf, so he was asleep and he couldn't hear nobody coming in and out of the cell. So, I go out on the top tier, start blanking, who stole my pictures, all that. And it took a little while for it to come out. It took about 2 weeks. Finally, somebody ratted on him that he had a problem. A dude had a problem with the other guy. Came up and he was a Native American. He came up to me and he was like, Smiley. That's my moniker in prison, is Smiley Chief. He was like, I know who got your pictures, and I'm like, who is it, bro? He was like, Mississippi. I'm like, all right. So we do a little he was GD also. We do a little investigation on him or whatever. He denies it. We really have no proof or evidence. One day I'm out on the rec yard, and they sell those type pictures, those provocative pictures. They have photo albums full of them, and they'll sell them for like 5 stamps a piece, 10 stamps a piece, or whatever. So I'm out on inside rec, and this guy's selling pictures, and I'm looking through them, and there goes my old lady, man, right there. He's selling it, and I'm like, where did you get these pictures from? And he said, Mississippi. And that was the camel that broke the straw that broke the camel's back right there. He was out. He was also inside rec. I confronted him about it. He kept denying it, and finally he was just like, you know what? That's enough, man. Let's go do this. We went into the bathroom. Had three or four of my guys standing in front of it. The South guys messed with them pretty tough, but my guys were keeping them from getting to the bathroom. Went in there. I let it hit me a few times. trying to size him up. Ended up punching him, dropped him in the corner, started stomping him out. He was bleeding from his nose, ear, mouth, and they were like, "All right, folks, that's enough. Get out, get out. You did good. You did good." When I went out, three of my guys went in there with the composite toe boots and let him have it for about 30 seconds, stomping him out. And he ended up leaving in a stretcher.
Wild, wild. It's like the Wild West in USP Big Sandy, isn't it?
Say that again, Chad.
I said, is it like the Wild West over there at USP Big Sandy?
Oh yeah, for sure, bro. I mean, it's dog eat dog. It's dog eat dog. Um, you got to be in shape. You got to be in the most tip top shape of your life, mentally, physically, and emotionally, even spiritually. You know, you got to have some type. Me, anyways, I had to depend on my higher power, God. You know, I get up, pray to Him every day. Man, let me live through this day in Big Sandy, bro. Um, it's just it's mentally draining. It hurts. I remember some days just go to the shower and tears would just be running down my face, man. You know, you don't know when it might be your turn for that to happen to you. Um, there's very little loyalty in there, even though that's what gangs are supposed to be built on. But they'll turn their backs on you in a second, you know, and it's even happened to me.
You know, it's crazy you said that because I talk about that in my book when I'm in the shower and I finally break down. I'm crying in the shower. I talk about that in my book, man. Um,
Yeah.
Definitely a dangerous place, but you end up getting victimized in federal prison too. Was that at Big Sandy?
Oh yeah, yes sir. Most blood I've ever seen, man. So you know, depression sinks in on us in there or whatever. We turn to certain things to relieve that depression. I started doing what's called Suboxone strips. You know, orange. They're opiate blockers, but they get you high just as opiates would. We have a zero drug policy being in the gang I was in. Eventually, it came out that I was doing Suboxone. Um, it took them about 2 weeks to make a decision on me, what to do with me. I was eating. I worked in the gym with our shot caller, who also ran the gym. I was eating. We had a Subway sandwich, man, a real Subway sandwich. I don't know where he got it from, but he had it. We were eating it, watching a movie in there, and he was like, "You know what, man? I talked to the guys. You're a good kid. I like you a lot. I see how big things for you. Um, we're not going to do nothing drastic to you, but your celly, which was our chief of security, is going to be upset. So you know, just steer clear of him. We're just going to give you a workout. Our violations are either 360 of a rep or 720 of a rep. He gave me 720 burpees. Um, so after 4 o'clock count one day, I go up into the activity room. One of my so-called brothers was in there giving me the workout, you know, supervising that I actually did the workout. I'm thinking everything's cool, you know, everything's good, man. I do this workout, everything goes back to normal. You know, I let it lie low for a little while, keep my nose clean, everything's going to be good. Not the case. So I get to about, I want to say 711 burpees. And now I'm not doing regular burpees. You know, I was what's called the exercise coordinator there. So I was in tip top shape. You know, I do 500 burpees a day, 1,500 push ups a day, stuff like that. Um, so I get to 711. We're doing Navy SEALs, Mike Tyson's, all these crazy burpees. And another brother walks in and he's like, "What you doing, man?" I'm like, "Knocking out this violation, bro. I'm almost done. I'm so fatigued. I'm in a puddle of sweat, man." Another brother walks in, and they're like, "Oh, shoot, folks are almost done. Get it done, G." And I go down for like 711, 712. I'm almost there, and then it hits me. Oh, I'm like, "What the?" You know, I try to frog leap up, man. I try to jump up like a frog, and another one comes down on me. Boom! They're beating me in the head with master locks, three of them. I end up just balling up, man, just, you know, trying to cover my face, and they're just working me with these locks on belts. Three guys, a lock apiece. It went on for about 60 seconds, but it felt like an eternity to me, man. They ended up running out. I remember getting up. I was soaked head to toe from blood. I was so dizzy, man. I started trying to walk down the stairs, and I just blacked out. I passed out. Uh, don't remember much from that. The next thing I remember was an oxygen mask on my face, and I was on a helicopter being life flighted to the nearest hospital.
These are your homeboys, man. These are the people that you eat with, the people that you kick it with, the people that, you're willing to go catch a body for in prison even though you only got a few years left. These are your dudes, man. The dudes that turn their back on you and beat you. They beat you and put you on a mercy flight, bro. How does that feel?
Definitely hurtful, bro. It definitely hurt a lot, bro. Because at this time, I already went on 3 missions for them, paid my dues. I did some drugs, bro. I wasn't a rapist. I wasn't a snitch. It definitely hurt, man. One of them, the guy giving me my workout, was my best partner, man. We cooked up every night. We worked out together every day, watched every movie that came on TV together. And it definitely hurt, bro. Loyalty is, like I said, is very thin in prison, man. It doesn't matter. Whenever that shot collar pushes that button on you, man, that's what it is.
You could be best friends today, and the same guy that you're best friends with could be ordered to kill you the next day.
For sure, man. Yeah. Man, they're going to do it because it's either you or them,
This
don't have no options in there.
Dylan, this is federal prison. Every little young dude that's watching this right now, that's in a gang, you might be in a Midwest gang, you might be in a gang from the South, from the West Coast, East Coast. This is what happens. This is federal prison. This is the life that they're going to live, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't wish it on nobody, man. It's definitely be your own man. You know what I mean? You can't really be your own man in there, but don't follow up under somebody, man. Because you can't trust nobody in there.
Can't trust nobody. Ain't that sad?
That's very sad. That's very sad.
Let me
I've met
ask
a few good dudes.
Dylan, I want to stop you for a minute because I want to ask you another question that relates to what we're talking about right here, right? Do you think at that moment when you're walking down the steps, you're bleeding, you pass out, do you think there's some white dudes in your unit that are like, he got what he had. He was a brace trader. He got it from his people.
For sure, yeah. And everybody knows what's going on at the moment, except you. So, retrospect, I remember everybody was in the showers. Everybody was getting their shower. The shower line was so long. Everybody was in line for the microwaves, heating up their food, getting ready for a lockdown. In retrospect, I can see that something was about to happen, but I was too blind at the moment to see it, which is what I was saying earlier, rocking somebody to sleep or making them a birthday cake.
They made you a birthday cake and it was almost your life.
Yeah, for sure, bro. I ended up going to the hospital 2 nights. They had to drill a tiny hole inside of my skull from the swelling of my brain to relieve pressure off of it. Ended up with 22 of those, not the little staples, but the big staples in the back of my head. Definitely got some war wounds on me, man.
So eventually you go to the hole after all of that. You get transferred or do you stay at Big Sandy?
I ended up getting transferred. I did about, I want to say 70 days back there. I go to USP Coleman in Florida.
Are you worried when you get there that the homies sent a message that you're going to get smashed? Do they accept you over there? What's going on when you get there?
They accepted me over there. They were like, he just had to go learn his lesson. He's not a rat. He's not a snitch. He's a good brother. Now, these are coming from the guy that just beat the living hell out of me. But they gave me that pass, they let me live. So I ended up staying there for about 52 days, exactly 52 days. And it was a good yard, actually, down in Florida, nice weather year round or whatever. I ended up getting into it down there also, non-gang related, though.
Let me ask you this. So these dudes embrace you. They send a message over. He's all right. We had to discipline him, man, but he's a good bro. How does it feel? Do you even want to be around these people anymore?
No, man, not really, but you don't have no choice. Once you're what's called on count our gang has what's called a no off count policy. Um, Meaning, if you're a known gang member, you have to be a part of that gang actively, or you get ran up, you get checked off the yard.
Wow, man. So now you're over there only for 52 days. What happens over there?
I ended up having to stab a black guy from Charlotte. If you would like me to go into details, I would.
I mean, the people like to hear what happened. They want to know about federal prison.
All right. So my celly, he was a white vice lord from Iowa. His name was Devin. He was a littler guy, about 140, 5'7". Cool kid, he's about the same age as me. We did everything together. We got there together, actually. He had been waiting on some pictures from his girlfriend. Been about 2, 3 weeks, and I started telling him, man, she didn't send those pictures. Those pictures aren't coming. She's lying. All this. Now, he worked in the chow hall, and they were doing Ramadan at the time, which the viewers know is a Muslim tradition. They don't eat until the sun sets. So he's working the chow hall late that night, comes back to the unit about 8 o'clock. I notice him get on the computer. He comes up to the cell. We're on the top tier. We got this ritual. We always smoke a little cigarette with K2 in it, the spice, when he got off of work. Comes in, he lays down on the bed. He looks flabbergasted, frustrated. And I'm like, bro, what's wrong? He's like, man, get the knives out. And I'm like, well, what's going on? He was like, somebody named Broderick McDowell got the letter and pictures my old lady sent and wrote her back and kept the pictures. I'm like, what? I'm like, what's his registration? She had his registration number. His last 3 digits was 058, which would put him in the western part of North Carolina. Turned out he was from Charlotte. I approached the shot caller for the Carolina Blacks and tell him the situation, and it turned out to be this guy's name that was Pig. He was our next door neighbor. He was about a 6'4", 300-pound dude, pretty big dude, man. They were like, they've had issues with him already prior to this, that they're wiping their hands clean with him. Do what you want to him. We're not going to interfere. So they basically green-lighted. So the guys that were in the unit that were part of our, it's called the Midwest Coalition. It could be GDs, Vice Lords, Latin Kings, Black Peace Stones, or anybody from the Midwest, where we all ride together. So we go in the cell, discuss it, whatever. My celly, I tell him, man, I'll get him up here, you take him in the cell, and I won't let you lose. Just shoot the ones with him. I'll act like I'm holding the door, and I'll run in and help him. He doesn't think that's a good idea because of his size. He's like, man, he'll punish me in the cell. I'm like, all right, bro, what do you want to do? The guy was down in the day room playing chess in the middle of the unit. He was like, I'm just going to go down there, act like I'm in the computer line, and go over there and hit him in the face and just surprise him. I'm like, all right. I said, let's do it. I'm with you. This is my guy. We're in the same coalition. I'm with you. You're my celly. Let's do it. He's like, all right. Well, hold on. I got a present for us. I'll be right back. He goes down, gets a 50 paper of what's called flocka, which, if the viewers know, is synthetic methamphetamine. He does half of this. I do the other half. First time doing it. And it took my breath away. It just put me in a whole nother aspect of life. I was just ready to kill, man. I just had murder on my mind at that time. I took a deep breath. I remember I said, whoo! And I rolled my pant legs up, pulled my sweatshirt off, and I was like, homeboy. He said, what? I said, that bitch gotta go. He was like, all right, but leave the knives. He left his knife for one of the homie. I ended up sliding mine up my sleeve. He went down one flight of stairs. I went down the opposite side of the stairs. He was standing in line, waiting on the computer.